Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Not Your College Life with Lisa Beals. I am your host, Lisa Beals. I am the mom who has worked in higher ed for 20 years as an administrator and yet still could relate to the pull your hair out moments when things are more complicated than they need to be. I mean, come on. So my mission right now with this podcast, with this YouTube channel, my mission is to try and demystify this, to give you the answers that you are looking for, that Google just doesn't seem to return. Okay, so this week's episode is about transition. 3 things that you can do to help with the transition. It's mid to late summer. It's getting ready, you guys. It's getting real. You are getting ready to drop them back off or to drop them off the first time. If you have a student that's getting ready to go to college, it's getting real, isn't it? The Excel sheets have been ordered or purchased. The supplies, the backpacks, the laptops, all of the things. All of the things. Okay, so this week's episode is 3 ways you can help with the transition to college by focusing on you. Here we go. Okay, so I want to remind you that while they're not a toddler. Do you remember those days when your kids were little and you had a crappy day? Or you and your husband were arguing, and invariably that crappy day or that awful interaction snuck its way into the rest of your day. So if you and your spouse were bickering, your fuse was shorter with your toddler, and your toddler knew it, and they either knew to stay away or they knew it was time to push your buttons further because you were an easy target. Your kids are still intuitive like that. They're going to know and sense when you're anxious, when you're stressed, when you're worried about them. And they are going to either do things that will push your buttons, or they will do things and behave in ways that they think are how you want them to respond. So here's an example. I think I've told this before, so I apologize if I'm repeating this. But when my girls were younger, they were, I think, 12 and 9. Our kids were all 3 years apart. And our youngest son was born with some profound disabilities. And we got some pretty grim news that we would be lucky to see age 3. And so how do you have those conversations with children about death and the fact that one of their siblings is not going to live to adulthood? So we made the brilliant decision as parents, we weren't going to talk about it. They're just special, and we're going to enjoy every day with them because you just never know what's around the corner. And so we just, we just live life kind of on the edge of a cliff, waiting for the other shoe to drop. So we never talked about it with our kids, about the gravity of their brother's diagnosis. And it wasn't until we were getting ready for high school graduation that, I went through the boxes of all the papers that you saved for high school open house, graduation open house, where I came across, both of my girls had these, where I came across essays in elementary school where both of my girls wrote about how they knew something was terribly wrong with their brother, but they had to put on a brave face because they didn't want to make us sad. They didn't want to make us, their parents, worry. Talk about a punch to the gut. I'm supposed to be the one saving them the worry, anxiety. Instead, they're looking out for me. Okay, so all that to say is your kids will notice. They will feed off of your attitude. So this is why you need to focus on you. And here are 3 things that I'm going to propose that you do to help with that transition. Are you ready? Okay, the first one is acknowledge you're stressed, right? Don't acknowledge it necessarily with your teen, but acknowledge it with yourself and do your own work. Do that mental mind work to process your feelings. Why am I feeling the way I feel? Now, in this year of COVID, anything's game. Anything's game. You could be worried about them dying. You could be worried about them bringing sickness home to you or your family members and killing someone else. You could be worried about job loss. It is all over the place, the worry that you can have and the reasons behind it. But I'm going to tell you, don't share it with them. Share it with your partner. Share it with a girlfriend. Share it in your journal. Do the work to process it. Okay? Process it. And is that not a healthy thing to do and to teach your kids how to do? I would not tell them that they're the reason for your stress, because it's really not about them, right? It's about all the stories you're telling yourself about what it means for them to go to school and to be away from you and not under your roof, and the fact that the first time that their phone rings, the first time that you call them and they don't answer right away, you're immediately going to assume that they've been kidnapped and put into the sex trade, or they've been murdered and laying in a ditch somewhere. That's just where your brain goes. I get it. I've been there. So do your mental mind work. Do your journaling. Connect with other parents, right? They're going to be stressed too. They're going through this. There's camaraderie in commiseration. Find other parents. Hopefully, you will choose to find other parents that are uplifting and not Debbie Downers. Okay? If you can't find them, reach out to me. I'll be your cheerleader. I'll be the sounding board. I'll be the one that you can talk all of the crazy ideas through and then bring yourself back to reality. Because you don't need me to do it. You just need a person. A impartial, warm body out there just to bounce ideas off of. Remind yourself as well that don't unintentionally make them feel guilty. Don't make your student feel guilty for your stress. This is a natural process. They are growing up. They are merging into adults. That is no reason for you to feel sad. It's the reward of a job well done. But it's transition, right? It's kind of when they're transitioning from a child and dependent on you for guidance and reassurance and answers and development, now they're needing less and less than that from you. And so your own identity is going to become in question. It's normal. It's healthy. Allow the process to happen and realign yourself and refocus. Just be very aware of and be very intentional of not misdirecting your feelings and emotions to be translated to your student to allow them to feel guilty because they don't need you as much anymore. Don't do that. Don't do that. So that was the first one. Allow yourself to feel stressed and anxious and upset, and then work on processing those emotions. Okay? Number 2, what you can do for you is become informed. Do your homework. Get online, do your research. What is available to your student? Because chances are, at some point, they're either going to be too lazy to do their own homework, they're not going to have the right search terms, or they're going to want to bounce what they've learned off of you before they actually take action. Okay? So if you are already informed, you're going to save yourself a little back and forth because you've already done the homework. You've already researched the options that are out there. You've already reached out to me and I've told you the search terms to use for the Google to give you what you need. So make yourself informed about campus resources because they will come back to you and say, help me. Now, my other recommendation tied to that is make a connection with a person on that campus. I don't know that it necessarily matters what office that personal connection is, but I will tell you, for me personally as an administrator, and I see this with my colleagues across campus as well, when a parent or an individual connects with you, asks you, what is your name? They use your name in conversation. They acknowledge you as a human being. They thank you for your time. They ask for your personal phone number and email. You become their go-to person. You may not have all the answers, but you are now the key. You are now the guide and the connector to all the other people that are in the know. So for you to go ahead and establish a personal relationship with an administrator on that campus that your student is at is going to open so many doors for you. I can't overemphasize this. And then you can demonstrate how that personal relationship benefits you. You can now encourage your student to do the same thing. Have someone in your corner. The last thing that you can do for you is there is nothing as a parent more reassuring to me than to witness firsthand the emotional development of my kiddo. And one way you can do that is to engage in conversations with your student about the really important topics that are out here in the world today. So I can't tell you a more recent time in history where current events have given you so many things to talk about with your student. There are so many current event topics that you can spark up a conversation with your student that can allow you to ask them, where do you stand on this? What are your thoughts on this? Why do you think that? And to give them an opposing view and make sure they know that that opposing view doesn't mean they're wrong or you're wrong, but that to introduce them to how you can have a civilized conversation with opposing viewpoints and still in the conversation knowing that you both love and support each other in whatever position you're in. But I can't tell you, if you've not done it already, I'm going to challenge you to do it. Have a conversation with your student. Ask them, what do they think about the presidential elections, about the current candidates? Where do they stand on them? If they were voting today, who would they vote for and why? What do they think about mask or no mask and why? What do they think about the pandemic? Real or manufactured? Is there an end to it? What's their opinion on social responsibility for students? That's a good one, right? You're sending them back to campus potentially. What's their level of personal and social responsibility for, quote, doing their part to keep the campus open and to mitigate the spread of COVID? What do they think their responsibility is? Why do they think that? How do they think their peers will behave? Do they think it's fair or unfair, the assumptions and the sweeping labels that the media makes about their generation? Aren't these great conversations? And I'm here to tell you, as a parent, nothing is more reassuring to my own well-being than to be able to have and hear a really insightful and meaningful conversation with my student about things that matter, and to hear and witness their own mental mind work, helping them form the decisions and the opinions that they have. It's amazing. It's fulfilling as a parent. There you go. So, your 3 things that you can do to help your college student in this time of transition is acknowledge that you're stressed and deal with it. Become informed with your campus resources and make a personal connection, and then engage your student in some really meaningful dialogue to challenge their ability to have a difficult conversation and to form an opinion and to support their opinion. That will give you so much reassurance to know they've got this. You've raised them well. Trust them. Trust yourself. All right, you guys, short but sweet. I really appreciate you guys taking time to listen to my episodes. And if you found this helpful, be sure to share this with a friend. And if you don't already follow me on social media, why not? I can be found on Facebook and Instagram at Not Your College Life with Lisa Beals. Until next time, y'all, take care.